The session will be moderated by Mr. Ashwani Arora, Global Head, Customer Success at Nucleus Software. Let's get ready to explore the possibilities and impact of AI on the ground. Let's welcome the guest and the speaker and the moderator on the stage.
Thanks, Chris. It's truly wonderful having you here with us today. So quick introduction about Chris. Chris Taylor is the CEO at Deem Finance, where he spearheads the company's strategic direction, focusing on digital transformation and sustainable growth. With over 25 years of leadership experience in financial services across Middle East and Europe, Chris has a proven track record in consumer and SME banking, risk management, and organizational transformation. Prior to joining Deem Finance, Chris served as Group CEO at Cavendish Maxwell and CEO at Abu Dhabi Finance. So welcome, Chris. Before we dive into our topic of AI and transformation, I think really want to start on a personal note. I still vividly remember meeting you 8 years back, and I must say you have discovered the secret of reversing aging. So,
thank you, I guess.
So Chris, you've been long known in the industry, not only for your strategic leadership, but your disciplined approach to fitness. Whether it's early morning routines or your relentless focus on performance, that has become your true part of your identity. So as they say, leadership is no longer just about a vision. It's about building resilience and sustained execution, particularly when it comes to VUCA world and complex shifts like AI. So could you share how your discipline has translated into Deem's operating rhythm and how it has influenced the company culture of transformation?
Yeah, sure. Thank you to the Nucleus leadership team for having us here and everyone who's been speaking earlier. Pretty much everything I was going to say has basically been said, so I'm going to have to kind of make it up as I go now, because all of the use cases, everything I've been hearing up here is kind of exactly what we've been doing. I did make a couple of notes about some of the comments earlier. Is AI hype? Is it not hype? I'll believe AI has probably been adopted by the UAE banking sector when the ATM that I go to for my bank doesn't ask me if I'd like to do Arabic or English for the 83rd time, because I've been here 20 years and I still don't speak Arabic, right? But the bank doesn't know. And it should know, right? It should know by now. It should not be asking me. I find it incredible. Did you know that, so I spent 12 years with Abu Dhabi Finance, as you said. The scariest part of working for Abu Dhabi Finance, which was owned by Mubadala, so I guess most of you guys know Mubadala, sovereign wealth fund down in Abu Dhabi, driving a huge amount of change through not just the UAE, but globally. And the scariest thing we ever had to do was present to the Mubadala Investment Committee. That committee had His Excellency Khaldoon Mubarak, many other extremely intelligent, powerful, smart individuals. And it was pretty tough to get investments for what you wanted to get into. But it became really scary when they introduced a non-voting AI member to the board. So a few years ago, they had a non-voting bot sitting there that would fact check every single thing that you were presenting live, right? Now, to kind of answer your question, a few of the Deem team are here, whether they appreciate the rigor and the fitness regime that I bring to the organization. You can check our Deem social media. You'll see Dr. Haroon, legend in the industry, running along the beach a few weeks ago. He left the organization shortly. No, he did shortly after that. So look, I think that there are two things that it's really important for a leader to be able to call on in the current time. Not just because of the transformation with AI, but because as in the opening address today, the volatility, the level of pressure and change that's going on kind of globally and locally, it's quite tough at the top, right? And two things from my sort of sporting background, and for those of you who don't know, I do a lot of triathlon. I compete at World Championship level. I'm actually going to be competing for the UAE in the World Championships in Australia in October. I just got selected this weekend.
That's really inspiring, Chris.
So clap me when I come back, having done okay. The two things that sport taught me were kind of resilience and adaptability. And so I think despite the hype and despite the sort of positivity and the headlines and the, AI is going to be great, I still feel, and certainly in my organization, that most people are still a bit scared of it. I know they will talk about, and I love the Human AI Alliance tagline that you have here, because it's incredibly important that we get that message out, because the biggest barrier to doing the right thing with AI is resistance and fear. And when you look at change, all human beings deal with change in the same way. There's a model that they go through, and the first model is it's not going to affect me, so I'm going to ignore it, whatever the change is. And then they realize it's going to affect them, and they start resisting. And it's human nature, and everyone goes through it. It might take 10 seconds, it might take 10 years, but they will resist that change. Then they'll start to kind of, it's not going away, I'm going to I'll accept it. But where you really want them to get to is to explore it. Now, as a leader, trying to persuade your organization that they're not all going to lose their jobs, this is going to help them do better jobs, they don't really believe you. You're not fully sure of the answers. It was much easier to be a leader 20 years ago. It was a much simpler world. I think there was predictability, there was more stability. So you don't really know the answers, and you're constantly challenged, mainly by people who've got their question from ChatGPT at the town hall that you're talking at, and they're going to ask you that question. So the resilience that you get, I think, from practicing a sport, having a discipline, really sort of helps. And the other thing is adaptability. So if I look at my sort of journey through sport from when I was a young sort of international level runner to triathlon today, technology and AI has been a huge part of that. So I'm able to compete today at about the same level I competed at 15 years ago. And it's not because physically I'm any better, it's because my shoe technology is way faster with carbon plates. It's because my Garmin watch tells me the training to do. It tells me how much recovery I need. I might ignore it and train again, but it tells me. So the AI on my wrist tells me how much rest I need to take. It recommends what session I need to do next. It tells me what energy, what food, what intake I should do. And I think what banking needs to do is start to look at industries like that, because I trust that technology implicitly. Like, I do what my watch tells me to do. Not sure I yet do what my bank tells me to do, but I think that sort of mindset that I've brought from sport, of that adaptability, which is we need to be open to change, we need to be open to different things, we need to be open to different ideas. Those are really the two things that I'm trying to use to help Deem through this transformation journey that we need to go through. As a long answer, I do long answers, apologies, because I know there's cocktails.
No worries, but that's really inspiring, and good to know you're using AI to its fullest. And look forward for the next level of innovation coming in banking from Deem Finance, applying the same principles we have been using. So this brings me to the related question, which is on the transformation. So as we look at the global banking landscape, we are witnessing a seismic shift towards digital services. This transformation is reshaping how banks operate and engage internally as well as with their customers. And UAE, I think digital adoption is at the forefront of national strategy. According to the World Economic Forum, the penetration of digital payments in UAE will cross 90%. And the country vision 2031, as I think we've heard everyone, also places a strong emphasis on digital transformation across sector, including financial services. So given these trends, I would love to hear your perspective on how this digital evolution is unfolding in the UAE. What specific challenges or opportunities do you see for banks operating in this dynamic and tech-forward market?
So I've been in the UAE since 2007, and the bottom line and the fundamental reason, in my opinion, why the UAE is now such a leader, and the region, from a technology and an AI perspective, is it's government-led. Right? And we heard the story earlier about the leader saying he wants everything to be on his phone. The government has set the standard now. Whilst all of our banking customers now build their customer expectation experience around tech, what they get from Apple, what they get from the sort of instant gratification and seamless service there. I think in the UAE, what the government has done is set such a great example for the private sector that we're having to follow. There are targets, there's accountability. And if I compare my experience as someone who lived here in 2007, it was completely paper-based, completely manual, queues for government services, and genuinely they have achieved, you can do everything on your phone. And so when you have a government like that. Another example, I was in Saudi Arabia in 2018 in a different organization. We were looking to launch a financial services business there. And I met with the CEO of their credit bureau. And it was the last meeting of the day. It was around 6 p.m. We were heading straight to the airport. And surprisingly, he said, actually, our data team are based in Dubai. I don't think they are anymore, but the data team for the Saudi bureau, the technology partner, was based just down the road from here in Media City. And he said, you should meet them, you're in Dubai. And I dismissed it as politeness. 9:15 a.m. the next morning, I received an email and a phone call. Now, no way in Europe would I leave effectively a government entity at 5:15, 6 p.m. in the evening and get a phone call back the next morning. It just wouldn't happen. The drive and the desire of the government to push the private sector, in my opinion, is what's creating that opportunity.
That's really encouraging to know.
Now, what I'm worried about, the challenge, I think, is twofold. We heard a lot about the challenge of ethics, transparency, accountability, and we have a banking regulator that I think is doing a pretty good job of balancing, consumer protection with the desire that for the industry to, drive efficiency, customer service, and revenue, of course, through AI. The government is being so friendly and has done such a great job reputationally of encouraging every fintech in the world and every challenger bank in the world to want to come to the UAE. And so what used to be quite a protected sector, right? A very stable government-driven sector with incredible profitability, which it still is, we are now to a certain extent overrun by new fintechs, most of whom are not going to go anywhere. Right? Most of whom will have a nice time for a couple of years in a government incubator and won't scale. Why is that a challenge for me? It's a challenge because it disrupts my marketplace a little bit, because they'll come in, they've got VC money, and they're kind of throwing around a lot of marketing and promising and advertising, some pricing that isn't sustainable. It's also really hard for me to pick the right partner, because the key to success in this whole transformation has really, I've realized, is do some of it yourself, but also do a lot of it through partners. I must get at least 10 emails a day. Load of AI hype rubbish, right? Just people promising me the world and can't deliver anything. And so I'm glad you mentioned when we kind of first met a long time ago, what's been incredibly important to us as part of this journey is having partners like Nucleus. We've just recently implemented the new collection system. Incredible implementation. I'm not paid to be up here. I do get a cocktail later, but 3 months end to end. I've been in banking for 20 years and I haven't seen that. Live, up and running, and I think it's fair to say it's the first project since I've been at Deem that went bang, right? Green to green. Yep. So, really great job to the team and to our team as well. But picking the right partner, I think it's becoming harder. I think it's becoming harder to differentiate between the promises, the hype, you're a little bit unsure what's really doing. And so going back to who you trust, a partner who's invested in you, who stayed in touch with you. I remember we spoke after we met at Deem, and you impressed me because you rang me and you were like, Chris, I went back through my notes, we met in August 2017. I was like, that's a partner I want to work with, right? Is someone who does that. So, but that it's bringing this challenge, right, of all of this influx of flow. And I look forward to a couple of years' time when that's kind of calmed down a little bit and the wheat is sorted from the chaff, and we're a bit clearer where we're going.
Sure, and thanks, Chris. It's been a wonderful partnership first in Abu Dhabi Finance and now in Deem Finance. And I think we could do it because I think everyone wanted to make it happen by March, and we set a deadline, and it's truly amazing the kind of support we both worked together and we made it happen. So thank you so much for all that support. So moving to a topic on AI, and I think every successful journey has a defining moment, and I'm sure it moved from a let's try this to let's scale this. So was there a particular use case at Deem Finance that proved the value of AI internally? Probably that would have helped to get everyone rallied towards making it happen. So do you want to talk about any specific use case?
It's funny, I was listening to the previous panel, and the answer to the last question, right, which is, what's the best way to do this? And no disrespect to that panel, but it's a bunch of technology guys, right? And they're like, start small, make sure you get it right, and then get there. Ask a panel of CEOs. I mean, I want big bang. I need to impress my board. I had a board meeting in December. It was my third board meeting in the organization. And ChatGPT is a nightmare for CEOs because boards now think you can do everything, right? They think you can do everything really quickly, right? They never used to get involved in technology. They were a bit frustrated with it. They heard sprint, they heard agile. Now they're like, you can use AI to do all of this stuff. Why are you guys so slow? Like, why can't you implement? Why can't we create? So the biggest challenge you have is what you can have is a CEO like me who I want to do it big and I want to go quick, right? I don't want to do small. I don't want to wait because I'm getting a lot of pressure from my board because they're reading headlines in whatever, either what industry they're in, they're reading headlines in the press. So, look, I don't think we've had the perfect moment yet. There were two moments when I felt, and they're fairly recent, that we were starting to get it right. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to get every head in the organization thinking about something small they can do. It can be HR, can be the treasury team, can be finance, and find the person in their team who's interested in it. Because I guarantee in each of your teams, there is someone who's ahead on this. They're probably not the most senior person in the team, but there is someone. Find them and encourage them. The challenge is you've got to encourage them with governance. So you don't want to find that your entire customer database has just been, happily used in a query, and you get into a little bit of trouble. But the first time that I felt we were starting to get it right was my head of HR came to me, and she hadn't even bothered, I think, telling technology, and she's got her team working on 2 solutions, right? Now, if HR are starting to work on a couple of solutions themselves, I would like them to speak to technology about it, but that's brilliant because that means people are experimenting, right? That means they've moved through the change curve and they're starting to experiment. So signals in your organization that at least the culture is starting to change, looking for something like that is important. I think when we got a little bit more excited than scared, a couple of good use cases. I would say, and look, Dr. Haroon and Fawzi and the team who are here, they laid all the groundwork just after the Gargash family bought our business because we did a complete core transformation. We started putting our data in the right place. They did what I call the long, hard miles that no one really thanks you for. And I'm lucky now to get to do some of the sprinting down the red carpet at the end of the race. But the 2 things that have been the most fun, we've migrated. Probably we were at 20% of our customer-facing and customer queries were being automatically dealt with, and we were at 80% manual, and we got pretty close to 50-50 through some fairly basic, what I would call solutions. And the team was swearing we couldn't do better. We're getting resistance from customers. They still want to talk to people. They don't like it. And we had an incident this is when fear is such a stronger driver than carrot, so stick versus carrot. We had a little bit of an issue with one of our banking partners, and they managed to send a message to pretty much our entire customer base, telling them that they were overdue, and telling them that they pulled from file some hidden code that hadn't been dealt with properly, and basically told every customer that their balance was overdue. Obviously, the call center goes into meltdown because it can't handle every single customer ringing us. So everyone starts downloading the app, who's refused to go on the app before and refused to deal it. We're now at 60%, so a 10% increase because of one issue by forcing our customers through fear to go there. But they've all stayed.
Okay, great.
So it was quite a funny kind of moment where you think you can sort of incentivize. But that was that moment when you're like, okay, they will get there, the customers will move there. So to move from 20/80 to 60/40 in about a year is a number that everyone else is now in the business going, that's pretty cool.
That's really encouraging, actually. So I think you started internally, and then the culture is building up, and even the percentage movement on the customer service looks quite encouraging. So good to know that. I think Deem Finance is exploring AI to different possible customer-centric solutions. So coming to challenges in AI, like every transformation has its own set of challenges. So looking back, what was one challenge I think you just talked about on AI journey that you hadn't anticipated? How did you course correct or build around it? So you want to talk about it, the one, or you have something add on to this?
Yeah, I mean, Fawzi mentioned data before. I think you always know you need to improve. I mean, I think every bank knows they need to improve their data. I don't think there's one that sits there and says we've nailed that issue. What helped us was having a real business imperative, which was actually stronger than our need to transform through AI, and that's the recent securitization deal that we did. So we did a deal with JP Morgan. For those of you who aren't aware, it's one of the first ever true securitizations in the UAE, a $400 million deal. Very, very cool. Although I was interested that one of the panel earlier said that JP Morgan are using AI for all their contracts because their lawyers charged me $700,000 for that. So might have to revisit. The rigor of a deal, I mean, that's effectively the same as selling your business a deal like that. And the sort of, I suppose for me, the mindset needs to be, I want my business to be good enough to sell it. The securitization is the same as that. It took us through it, and it was that started making us really put our data in shape. So creating the drive to do it is incredibly difficult to get your data in shape. We adopted that mindset of we've got a third party looking at it, effectively buying a lot of the portfolio, and so that's what was our ability to sort of start to overcome that issue.
I was about to ask, and on this securitization deal. So first of all, congratulations. I think it's a kind of it stresses on your vision of serving the underbanked. So I think this brings to my last question to you with regards to the securitization deal and how AI is going to support the vision with funding in place, and how do you see that AI playing a role in that, realizing your vision?
Yeah, so look, I think that all the panels have talked about, you know, the behind-the-scenes replacement of repetitive, straightforward tasks. What I'm most excited by AI with, and look, the Deem vision, I mean, we haven't had a branch, I think 5 years ago we closed our last branch. Yeah, something like that, right? So we haven't had a branch for 5 years. The opportunity that AI will bring is definitely the underbanked sector, both SME and consumer, that have thin credit files, so alternative sources of data, and finding ways to embed our financial services product into the other services and other needs that they have. We're working on a couple of extremely exciting partnerships that JP Morgan are also very excited about as part of the deal, because again, I know the Astratech COO was saying that 50% of the market is underbanked. We firmly believe that that's where there's a big opportunity, but it's inefficient to acquire, so it's an expensive customer to acquire, and you need to find AI-driven ways to do that, and you've got to find innovative ways to underwrite because they're not going to pass standard credit underwriting procedures. If we combine those two plays, that for me is what it's going to be all about in the next few years.
Great, I think, and I think in the earlier panel, the use cases on the customer acquiring and the how do we avoid the customer churn was also being discussed. So great to know, I think AI is being applied internally as well as to the customer-centric use cases. So Chris, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful insight and wonderful partnership. I think your journey shows how discipline, purpose, and intelligent innovation can truly transform banking. And thank you again for joining us. I think you're leading by example. So thank you so much for all the great partnership. Enjoy with you.